You need to share the audio, Jerry. Share the audio on your screen.
From you on behalf of Mission Hope. Pastor, are you ready to get started tonight?
You know, we have had a wonderful week, and I just can't wait to get started.
How about we start with a word of prayer?
Yes, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, because you have brought us through this week. We thank you because you have allowed us to learn and allow us to put into practice what we have learned. We thank you, Lord, and we want to ask you that we may continue to build healthy families, Lord. Lord, we put ourselves in your hands, and that everything that be done may be in your honor and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Sister Lillian, let's go to some exercise, shall we?
Yes. Do you know that 30 minutes a day of exercise keeps a healthy body? Well, we are going to be with our instructor tonight, Jeremy Brown, a 4-year medical student that will be able to teach us things that we can continue to practice at home, not just to be healthy today, but for our future too. Why don't we join our instructor, Jeremy?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another virtual workout where we get the heart pumping, the muscles moving. Congratulations, you got through the hardest part. You're here, you're ready to get some work in. And once again, we're just using things that are in our houses, our apartments, wherever we are to get a little bit of exercise in, all right? You guys got this? Ready? Let's go. All right, so all we're gonna need for today is a chair, something to sit on, a sofa, whatever that might be, and a can, something with a little bit of weight, okay? All right, you guys ready? All right, so we're gonna start off first with something called the leg extension, okay? So we're gonna sit down, take a seat, okay? Sitting comfortably? Good. So the leg extension, you can think about it as just kicking your leg out, all right? So you're gonna move your leg out just like that and down. Move your leg out like that and down. And what that's doing is really working out your quadriceps, right? Those muscles, those big muscles in the front of your leg, give you a little bit more stability. They help with knee pain, as well as hip issues. Gives you a little bit more strength as well in your day-to-day life, okay? So we're gonna do 2 sets of 5 reps on each leg, all right? And I really want you to focus on contracting, on squeezing those leg muscles whenever you kick out, okay? Ready? Let's do it. 1. And let's alternate for this one, okay? 2. 3. 4. And 5. Good job, everybody. Now I want you to get up. I want you to just walk out. Walk it out. We're gonna walk it out for another 5-10 seconds. Make sure those shoulders are moving. Our legs are moving. All righty. And I want you to take a seat back down, okay? Take your time with it. Get it comfortable. All righty, and let's get into that last set. All right, 2 sets of 5 reps on each leg, and we're alternating, okay? Just follow along. And once again, if you feel like you can only do 3 of these, do those 3, right? Because you're getting that work in, and you know your body, all right? But let's try to get those 5 in if we can, okay? You guys ready? Let's do it. 1. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, good job, everybody, good job. Made it through the first exercise, okay? All right, And this is where our shoulders are gonna come into play a little bit now, okay? So we're gonna do something called a shoulder front raise, okay? So essentially what we're gonna be doing is that we're gonna take our bottle, our can, whatever it might be, something with a little bit of weight, and we're gonna hold our arms down by our sides, and we're just gonna raise it forward, just like that. And this is really helping the front of your shoulder out, right? When you're moving those pans around in the kitchen, taking something out of the cupboard, moving something around in the garage, this is all very, very helpful and helps you out with your shoulder health a little bit, okay? All right, you guys ready? Let's do this thing. We're gonna do 2 sets of 5 reps on each arm, okay? We're gonna do 5 on the right first, or 5 on your left, whatever you wanna start with, and 5 on the opposite arm. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good job, good job. Next arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good job, everybody. Good job. I want you to put that can down. I want you to shake it out, 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 shake it out. Good job, good job. Swing those arms a little bit if you need to get them a little worked up. All right, and let's get to that last set, okay? Let's make it count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, let's get to that last arm. You guys ready? Last 5 of the workout. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, let's put that down. Good job, everybody. Thank you again for coming to another virtual workout. Enjoy the rest of your day, your afternoon, your evening, whatever that might be. Hope you see that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you could be at work, you could be at home, you could be at school. You could get a little bit of exercise in. All we used was a chair and a can, bottle of water, whatever you use for a little bit of weight, okay? I hope this makes you feel a little bit better, a little bit more fit, a little bit more energized. Enjoy the rest of your day and hope to see you on the next one.
Sister Lillian, is that time of the seminar again in which we can go to our natural remedies.
I love this section because Tamika, our speaker today, is a lifestyle educator, and she gives us simple things that we can do at home to take care of ourselves while we wait to go to the doctor. Let us join Tamika.
Hi everyone, today we're going to do fomentations. Pay attention, it can get very tricky. So for fomentation, it's very good for those who are suffering with congestion, any chest-related pain, circulation issues. So the first step is to put a plastic on your bed. So here we put the plastic on, then we're going to put the fitted sheet onto the bed. Right? That's step 1. Step 2 is that you're going to have your towel that's already hot. So this is a hot towel. You're going to wring it dry, so it's not supposed to be dripping, right? No water is dripping, right? So it's hot, so you have to be very careful with it. So you're going to fold it about this length. Then because the towel is hot, you don't want to burn your patient or the client, you're gonna place it inside of a dry towel. The patient might say that it's too hot also. So you're gonna place it right here. And then you're gonna place the pillow. So the person's spine is supposed to be on the heated towel. If it's too hot, You can also put a next layer of towel on it. So the patient is going to lie on the back. Patient. See? So the towel is right here, and it's not too hot for the patient. So it's like that. Then you're going to cover her with a cover sheet. The next step is for her feet. Can you lift up your feet like that? Kind of like that, yeah. You're gonna place hot water in this basin, right? You always check to see the temperature of it. The temperature should be at 102, and you be very careful, especially for those with diabetes, because with person with diabetes, they cannot feel anything. So you want to be very, very careful when you're doing this treatment, right? So for the patient, you're going to take their feet. So you're going to check the water. The water should always start at least 102 temperature. So when you place in the person's feet, 1 foot at a time, hold on. When you place in the person's feet, you're going to put it elbow down first, so they can actually feel the water. So when they put their feet, they will tell you if the water is too hot or not. So you place it down in, then you're going to put next feet and put it in. You're going to cover it. Right? So this is always going to be like that throughout the treatment. And every 7 minutes you check, and you can also increase the temperature of the water. When you increase in the temperature of the water, you tell the patient to place her feet over to one side, and you add it there, right? You can also use the same temperature to help circulate the heat so that it doesn't stay at one section of the water. You just cover it up like that. So this person having stomach pain right here. So what we do, this is wet, this is hot. So you take next towel, to keep in the heat, and then you place it on the affected area. And the rule is 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold. So you're gonna take, in the interim, so you're counting 3 minutes, you have the timer on 3 minutes. You're gonna place this other cloth in cold water. So you have your cold water. Remember, it's not supposed to be dripping. And this treatment, you're going to do about 5 exchanges. So you always keep a record. 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold. So you remove it, remove the heat, and you always tell the patient, cold is coming, because it's going to cause a little bit of shock for the patient. So you go over, and then you put 30 seconds, and it's a cold friction. So it's a friction, 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 30 seconds. For 30 seconds. After which now, 30 seconds, then you apply back the heat, the hot fermentation. And you put it back for 3 minutes. Remember, 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold. So you continue doing that for 5 exchanges. Always remember to end with cold. Always end with cold. Never end your treatments with hot. Always, even for the feet, when you're finished, you end it with cold. You wipe the feet off with cold and you put on a socks. After this treatment is completed, the client or the patient is expected to at least lie or to rest for at least 30 to 60 minutes. Why? That is when the white blood cells come into action. Remember, rest is always important. After treatment, you rest. So for those who don't want to use cloth, you can use what we have here. These pads, you can get them online. they absorb a lot of the heat in there. So you can get these online, and always remember to place them in a dry towel when you're applying to the person, because you will burn the person, right? And if it's still too hot when you place it on the person, you can wrap it again in a next towel, right? And always ensure to ask how the patient is feeling. With these type of treatments, the patient might get thirsty. So always have a cup of water here to give the patient, and also have a damp cloth, cold cloth, to damp down the patient or the client when they start to sweat. Okay? So remember, 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold, always end with cold. Thank you everyone for watching our program. I hope that you've learned a lot. Always remember to pray before you begin any application, because only true success and healing comes from our Creator. Thank you.
Sister Lilian, I am so sad. This is the last time that we will see Dr. Coooper in this seminar. Can you believe it?
I've definitely enjoyed this seminar, and this section has been awesome. What is she going to be teaching us today?
You know, we have been going through so many things that I can just tell you that is going to be delicious, it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to be healthy for you and for your family. So let's go with Dr. Coooper in our section, Cooking with the Doctor.
You must be wondering, what is the doctor doing in the kitchen? Well, most chronic diseases can be reversed or prevented using lifestyle modification. So today, I have a very delicious protein loaf for you, Cashew Nut Loaf. Cashew is high in fat and high in fiber as well as protein. We're going to be using 2 cups of milk. This is almond milk. You could also use soy milk that is higher in protein. Put that in the blender. Then we're going to be adding 2 cups of raw cashew nuts. We're going to add all our liquid ingredients, and then we're going to blend. All right, there we go. That's 2 tablespoonfuls of soy sauce. Let's blend this together. To this, I'm going to add my rice. And this is 2 cups of already cooked brown rice. Brown rice is high in fiber, as well as protein, mineral, and vitamins. I'm going to toss 1 chopped medium onion. Then I'm going to blend again. Very good. To that, I'll add 2 tablespoonfuls of olive oil. Remember, oil is processed and you have to be careful with the oil. Let me go ahead and add some browning. Now this is natural browning made from cane sugar. I'm going to blend this together. All right, so then I'm going to pour this out and I'll add my dry ingredients. So let's pour this in this bowl. Then I'm going to add some breadcrumbs. And it's best if you use the whole wheat bread. That's higher in fiber and more nutritious. Then to that, I'm going to add some spice. So sage, 1 teaspoon of sage, and 2 tablespoonfuls of parsley. To that, I will add 2 tablespoonfuls of nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is high in vitamin B12, So if you are a vegetarian, then you should always add nutritional yeast to your meal. Then I'm going to mix this up properly, and then we're going to pour this in our loaf pan. Okay, so the loaf pan is here, and you should have already oiled the loaf pan. We're going to pour this there, and your oven should be preheated 350 degrees, and this you're going to bake for about an hour. I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to show you the finished product. Look how beautiful this is. Looks like beautiful, delicious loaf. I'm going to cut into this. Let's try. Beautiful. How can you eat this? You could eat this with some vegetables. So I have some steamed vegetables, high in antioxidant, vitamin, nutrients, very delicious. Let me try. Very tasty. You should try as well. For more recipe, visit my website, gethealthywithdrcoooper.com or cooperwellnesscenter.tv. And this week, try to repeat this recipe. I'll see you on another show.
I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. That my ways may be known above the earth, my saving power among nations. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. You came to give the more abundant life. Our body is the temple of the Spirit of God. You came to give the more abundant life. Our body is the temple of the Spirit of God. He leads and guides us in temperate ways and gives us fullness and length of days. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. For a good ambassador, he is my health, and my health must prosper as my soul prospers. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. That my ways may be known above the earth, my saving power among all nations. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health.
Pastor Mendez, who is our guest speaker tonight?
Today we once again have Dr. Zeno Charles Marcel. You know, we are glad to have him as he is a jack of all trades and a busy man. He is a medical doctor, he is an academic speaker, and he is a public health advocate. So tonight he will be covering the topic, the next great pandemic.
Good evening and shalom. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you, Doctor.
Yes.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
And is it on the right view?
Um,
You're just seeing one slide?
No, we're seeing multiple slides.
Okay, we don't want that. How about now?
This is the right view.
Okay, good. All right, good evening. And yes, we had a marathon. So today we're at the point of closing up this seminar. I'm sure that the Mission Hope Church will be having more such things in the future, and maybe some things to follow up what we've been doing over the course of this week. I would like to just kind of round things off with a few ideas. We have been dealing with this shalomic concept all week long, and by now people should more or less know, but we're going to touch on it again. But I want to make a claim that people sometimes misunderstand what we're trying to say. First of all, there is no salvation by works, okay? There is no salvation by works. The Bible does not teach this, and we don't teach this, we don't advocate this. This is just not the truth, all right? There's no salvation by works. Next, there's no salvation by health habits. You can't health habit your way into being saved in the kingdom of God. That's just not it, okay? The health habits that we develop help to keep our bodies and our minds and our spirits healthy, but this is not the means by which we are saved. There's no salvation by vegetarianism, by veggie burger, by diet, by exercise, by sleep, by none of these things. There's only salvation by grace through faith in Jesus Christ. Amen. So this is the most important issue. So God speaks, let's renew our minds, because he says we should come and renew our minds, and we may let his mind be in us as we go through this idea about the pandemic. So, well, how does the future look? Well, you know, SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19, which is the same thing, the virus and the disease, has dominated the world news for more than 13 months. This is on people's minds. It has been in their hearts. It's caused a lot of fear, as we will see in a little while. Okay, and the question is, were you prepared for COVID-19? And how will you prepare? And was COVID-19 predictable? We're going to answer some of these questions. Should it have been a surprise? Well, I would like to say that it should not have been a surprise at all. So what I'm going to talk about is some good news, some bad news, and then some good news. So if you don't get the whole thing, you'll understand the sequence that I'm going in. The good news, bad news, and good news. The good news is that COVID-19 is not the end of the world, as you'll see. The bad news is that things will get worse, okay? I'm sorry, that's what it is, right? The good news is that even though it gets worse, we have an escape plan, okay? So there is a way to get past all of this, because the best is yet to come, even though the worst is yet to be seen, all right? Okay, so let's see the evidence. This year, they did a survey to see who people will trust, okay? Now, trust in the Greek is a homologue to another word called faith, okay? So who do you have faith in? Let's put it this way, right? So in that survey, local scientists were at the top of the list, 73% local scientists. Next were employers, the CEO of companies. Next were people in the local community, people who might be putting blogs and doing things on the internet, or people like Dr. Coooper and others in the community who people will trust. Even though doctors were not on this list, doctors are always high on the list. So will be nurses and dietitians and other health personnel. CEOs were 48%, journalists were 45%, less than 50%, religious leaders 42%, and part of the reason I believe is because some religious leaders actually took a partisan kind of view of what was going on, and so people now have some skepticism about what religious people are saying. And government leaders, well, that was not too high on the list. It was 41%. So there is a lack of trust, and that should not surprise us, okay? When there's a lack of transparency, when there is confusion, when there are crises, people want to hear good news and they want to be able to trust what people are saying. And when you're covering things up, you don't inspire trust. Additionally, in today's day, because of all of what's going on the internet and whatnot, people can spread not only good information, they can spread misinformation, which is wrong information that they don't know is wrong. And they can also spread disinformation, which is they're purposely trying to tell you something because they have another agenda and what they're telling you is wrong. It's misleading, okay? So all of these things are going on and people are believing all kinds of things, not knowing what is true and what is not. What you would not believe, or you would believe, because I'm telling you, and you can always check it out for yourself, that in November of 2017, there was a huge meeting dealing with the next pandemic. I want to point out to you, this was November 13, 2017. You would say, if they were talking about this in 2017, how come it was a surprise to many people in 2019 and 2020? Scientists attempted to warn long before the current pandemic hit. Okay, and here's some of the evidence. This is from January 21, 2004, from the archives of 60 Minutes. They had a whole series, okay, talking about viruses and viruses being able to cause epidemics and pandemics. And if you look at the drawing that they have there, you see bats, which figure very high in it. And that little animal that you see there with the spikes on it, it's kind of like a coronavirus mixed with a hog. So it's a pork. It's a pig associated or porcine associated problem. So those little things swirling around that look like little fuzzballs, they look like viruses with coronas. Okay, so this was since 2004. Then later on, in 2005, another 60 Minutes, a little bit over a year later, in 2005, December 4th, they were talking about the flu and the fact that flu can cause an epidemic, only to show that a few years later, in 2009, we had the H1N1 epidemic that started in Mexico City. So associated with swine. So it was a swine flu, swine influenza, H1N1 epidemic, okay? So swine flu has potential devastating effects. And I am sorry to tell you, but there's a new swine flu strain that was discovered in China a few months ago. So in the face of our looking at COVID-19, we have the swine flu that is lurking there. It is already infecting people who are working with swine in China, but it is not being transmitted from person to person. So on the one hand, it goes from the swine to people, but people aren't spreading it to other people. If people begin to spread it to other people, that's when it has the epidemic and pandemic potential, okay? But right now, this is going on, okay? They did, the organization called AIR Worldwide, they did a set of scenarios, okay, looking at the potential impact of a global flu pandemic. Now, we're looking at the potential of this, and they have scenarios that they painted, and the pandemic that they have as a scenario was not the worst case scenario. It was just one of the potential scenarios, okay? The worst case scenario is far worse than what they were able to project using computer programming. But here's what it looked like, okay? This epidemic, this global flu pandemic that they had the scenario for, was going to not be terminated until about 18 to 22 months. But by that time, several things would have happened. The amount of deaths, for instance, it would have killed more than 21 million people, infected more than 1.6 billion people worldwide, or nearly 23%, nearly a quarter of the world's population would have been infected with this flu virus. And the amount of life insurance losses would have exceeded $45 billion. Now, this was looking at this thing in a hypothetical situation. It was not predictive of what was going to happen. They were just saying, this is what we can expect, and therefore we need to do something to prepare ourselves for it. The numbers did not include asymptomatic infections. So people who got in contact with the virus but didn't get sick weren't included in these numbers. So the numbers are actually modest compared to what the real numbers would be if the scenario were to play out, okay? But again, there's a global rise in human infectious diseases. This has been going on since 1980. As is shown here, the numbers of infections have increased significantly since 1980. And for most of us who are hearing me right now, in your lifetime, you have seen things happen. The SARS happened in 2003, H1N1 in 2008, 2009, Ebola in 2004, actually multiple Ebola epidemics, but the big one was in 2014. Then the MERS in 2015, the Zika in 2015, the chikungunya in 2015, all of these, and then of course, the SARS-CoV-2 in 2019. This should not have been a surprise because we have all of these things happening right before us from a scientific standpoint. But here's the thing. We don't really listen. One root cause of pandemics that few people think about, whether it's swine flu or avian flu or bat-transmitted diseases. And yes, there is now a new virus that looks very much like the SARS-CoV-2 or the COVID-19 associated virus that is 94% similar to SARS-CoV-2. It is found only in bats. It was just reported 2 weeks ago, actually 2 weeks ago Friday. So less than 10 days ago, it was publicized that this virus exists. It is not jumping to human beings yet. It's found in bats. But there are people who like to eat bat meat, okay? And we don't call them Batman or Batwoman. They just like to eat bat meat, and they like to eat wild meats and all of the, and they have these animals that are supposed to be in the wild, they have them as pets. Additionally, because of how we have been doing things, for the expansion of so-called civilization, we have been pushing the boundaries between what is so-called civilized on our part and what is the wildlife of the animals. Instead of being stewards of the environment and stewards of the animals that are placed under our care, we have been abusing this, and there is a backlash because now those animals and those ticks and those mosquitoes are invading our so-called civilized territory because they have nowhere else to go. They have come to do things, trying to survive themselves, and they're causing us illness and have the risk of causing pandemics. So where do they come from? They come from the wild, primarily from animals. Why on the rise? Because we have been pushing them, we have not been taking care of what's going on in the environment. Can we stop them? Well, at this point, it seems as though we're not going to be able to stop them. But is there any hope? Yes, there's hope in the long term, but I believe that there is no real abating of this in the short term, even though we will go through periods of relative calm and ease until the end will come. Okay, now this is my speaking. In one study, they looked at, actually, this was a whole symposium they had prioritizing zoonosis. Zoonosis means that it's an infection that starts first in the animal and then jumps over to human beings. 75% or so of new or emerging infectious disease are zoonotic in origin. In other words, our relationship with the animals is an issue. It's a problem. We should have been having a good relationship with the animals. We should have been having a protective relationship with the animal. But instead, what we have been doing is abusing the environment, abusing the animals, and so on. And I'm not saying this because I'm some kind of, off the cook animal lover. I'm just saying we have just not done a good job. We've not been good stewards of our environment, including and especially the environment with animals. Okay. It is estimated that in the wild, there is 1.7 million currently undiscovered viruses that exist in mammals and birds. Bird flu is also something that is dangling there in the horizon. And again, this is coming from farms in China, all right? Now, I am not speaking against Chinese, I'm not speaking against Asians or any such thing. It's just that geographically, that is the part of the world where this is involved, okay? It could very easily be in Mexico, as we said, in the United States, it could be in Europe, it could be anywhere, but it's just that this particular one is over there, all right? So we have multiple clues of pandemic possibilities because we have all of these infectious agents and all of these vectors, which would be the animals, that are coming in closer contact with human beings than we should have had, okay? This on the right is one of these exotic pets that people have. And, so when somebody goes to the hospital because they have been strangled by their pet boa constrictor, we have to wonder what kind of person wants to have a pet boa constrictor that can kill them. But this is the kind of thing that people like to do, and therefore we have some issues. So people are thinking about how the COVID-19 pandemic will change the world. And of course, they're looking at it in multiple fronts because this has affected just about every aspect of life, including the economic viability of businesses and the world. We all have, to some extent or another, felt the crunch with unemployment, with reduced employment, reduced hours of work, having to stay at home to do things, kids not going to school. So it has affected all of us in different kinds of ways. The economists asked the question, how will this change the world? And some people, in trying to answer it, have said, well, maybe we should get rid of all the pigs and the birds and whatnot because, well, this is an untenable position. We can't really do this and say that this will solve the problem. We have to go even further. And as Dr. Coooper mentioned this morning, we have to get to the root. We have to find what the root is and then be able to deal with the fruit. Unfortunately, there are some experts, or I should say some experts are saying this, and it's unfortunate because it is the truth. It's the truth. Will the world change post-COVID-19? Well, this one person who was interviewed, the scientist interviewed on CNN, said, we usually go back to business as usual after crises. I want that to sink into you. We're looking for the new normal. And the day we feel comfortable, we want to go back and do what we were doing before and forget what has happened. But really, what we should be doing is taking heed, because the next thing that will come along will most likely be worse. And even though we say we should be prepared, it takes us to decide individually what measures we will take to prepare for ourselves, our families, our loved ones, our communities, and by extension, what we will do for the world. Now, here are some of the things that we need to know about this COVID-19. If you have asthma, your likelihood of being hospitalized is 1.5 times the general public. If you have high blood pressure, 3 times. If you have obesity, 3 times. If you have diabetes, 3 times the risk. And of course, once you go into the hospital, the risk of dying actually goes up. So here are some of the problems here. Chronic kidney disease, 4 times. Severe obesity, 4.5 times. If you have 2 of any of those conditions, 4.5 times, okay, 4.5 times the risk of having to be hospitalized because of your problem. And if you have 3 or more of those conditions, you have 5 times the risk of having to be hospitalized. What am I saying here? Here we have a problem that's an infectious disease, but it is worse, this infection, in people who have the non-transmissible, so-called non-infectious diseases. What should that tell you? It should tell you that the things that have been taught during this week, the things that Dr. Coooper and Dr. Bryce and the other doctors and the nutritionists and whatnot, the things that they've been talking about to help stop, reduce, abate, or even reverse obesity and hypertension and diabetes and chronic kidney disease, etc. These things, if they are taken care of, you actually reduce the chances of having to be hospitalized or dying from COVID. This is with or without the vaccine. I hope that sinks into you. So we should be taking care of the basic things, the metabolic things, okay? Because these things will be what the viruses and the pandemics of the future will exploit. So if we're doing well and we have a holistic, healthy lifestyle, then we're in a better shape immunologically, emotionally, physically, in all senses, and spiritually to face the next thing that is going to come. I hope that is something that you take heed with, okay? We talk about the root and the fruit. If you understand where the root is, then you will understand why the fruit looks that way, all right? So we go back to the idea of shalom. Peace, shalom, total health. This is what we're striving for, but we know that this will only come, the fullness of this will only come when Jesus returns. But until that time, he wants us to live in peace, to have total good health, completeness and wholeness and wellness and harmony, and all that is good be ours. And that things would function the way they were designed to function, the way they were designed to be. So the question, are we living in the time of the end? This question has been asked not by religious people, but by people who are not religious. Because people are seeing all these different things happening, not just COVID-19, but famines and pestilences and all of these things. And they wonder, is this the end of things? I have some good news for you. COVID-19 is not the end, but it is a dress rehearsal. That's how I see it. That's how most scientists and religious leaders, Christians who are looking at the end time events, realize that this is not the end, but it's a dress rehearsal for the end. In other words, there are things that we can learn from this to prepare ourselves for what is going to come in the future. All right. So here's what happened once the pandemic was announced. People in countries that usually don't really take notice of spiritual things, all of a sudden start to be interested in religious services and spirituality. Look at France. Those are numbers that went up just between 1st of February and 1st of May when the emergency was announced in the middle of that period. Italy, look at Mexico. Mexico is a religious, has very religious overtones anyway, but even so, it went up. In Russia, the religiousness, okay, and the concern about religious services and spirituality, that went up. The pandemic, the Telegraph in the UK mentioned, the pandemic prompts a surge in interest in prayer. And this was demonstrated by Google search. People were looking to find ways to alleviate their problems. But you know what happened? As soon as we start talking about vaccines and all of those things, and people started getting vaccinated, the issue is that they go back to what they were doing before. So maybe they forget a little bit about the prayer, they forget about all the things that were concerning them during the time, and they go back to business as usual. But here is the byline that they said: people are increasingly turning to religion to find meaning, the research shows. Increasingly turning towards religion to find meaning. Worldwide searches for prayer surged in March of last year, according to Google. Look at the numbers, right? There was a 30% increase in worldwide searches for prayer. Our outlook on what is going to happen in the future is based on biblical eschatology. Eschatology just means end time events. And we find these prophecies and these ideas from the books of Daniel and Revelation, and also from Matthew 24 and Luke 21. I strongly urge, if you're not familiar with Daniel and Revelation and Matthew 24 and Luke 21, that you do so, that you talk to the pastor of your church, that you talk to the pastor in this church, right, to find out what these things mean. And I would like to recommend to those who are in charge of this seminar, whom I didn't talk to about this before, but you can follow this up with something on Daniel, Revelation, some seminar or some studies on these things, so that people who are hearing this and who understand what I'm trying to say, that they will look out, because they know that the way that you beat the next pandemic is actually to be grounded in these principles that are talked about here. In Matthew 24 and Luke 21, they talk about wars and rumors of wars and famines and pestilences and earthquakes and natural disasters in diverse places. And we have seen that. Consider any kind of disaster that occurs, and I will ask you, which ones do not increase the health risk? Therefore, what I'm saying is, when we take the time now, and when we move towards being healthier now, then even though we're in some of these kinds of disastrous situations, because all of them involve health risk, you are actually taking a preventive preparatory measure, all right? If you look at these, severe hurricanes and earthquakes and famines and floods, all of these involve the risk to the health of the population, and therefore to be taking care of health is an imperative if we're looking at disaster preparation, crisis preparation for anybody. And it should start, if it hasn't started already, it should start today. Here are the things. We have geological issues, climate issues. I'm going around the outer circle. Geological issues, climate issues, man-made things, biological things, and celestial things. Luke 21 talks about seeing signs in the heavens. And we're already seeing an increase in the meteor activity coming towards Earth. You could just look it up on the internet and you'll see that we have more meteors reaching Earth, and we have the likelihood of a relatively small meteor hitting Earth and causing catastrophic damage, that those numbers are going up. And what they have shown is, because of how we are able to detect them, if one were to be coming directly at our detection system, we will not see it until it's about 48 hours beforehand. So now this sounds like bad news, but what I'm trying to tell you is that these things were predicted biblically. And if we're living in that time, then we ought to be prepared. It should not be a surprise to us that these things are happening. We don't want them to happen. We don't like that they're happening. We realize that we have urgency in doing what we need to do to be able to work while it's day, because the night comes when no one will be able to work, to do anything positive, because everything will be in turmoil. What does that lead to? It leads to economic woes. It leads to violence, civil unrest, death, destruction. We've seen it already. And the central core of things is people want security, they want safety, they want health, they want physical, mental, emotional, relational, spiritual health, because this is what will make them more resilient to be able to deal with all of what's going on out there. And each one is important. Physical, mental, that is how we think; emotional, how we feel; relational, what is our relation one with another? Are we in a hatred kind of situation, or are we in a loving situation? And then our spiritual care, that's the core issue. All right. Underlying issues are fear versus faith, deception versus discernment, error versus truth, and the appearance of things versus the reality of things. All of this stuff with fake news and misinformation and disinformation, as we talked about, things appear one way, but reality might be something different. And we are living in a time in which there is so much chaos and confusion. You don't know what is real and you don't know what is not. All the scams that are happening all over the country and all over the world makes one think, boy, this is a hard time to live, okay? But then we have the Bible, and the question is, do we really believe the Bible, that what these things predict, are they really so, and will they really come to pass? But here's what the science is showing, that the spiritual life, okay, is a determinant of our total health. It's part of the package of our total health. And our total health involves our physical health. And when we are physically healthy, this involves our brains and our brain chemistry. Our minds are different, and therefore it changes our mental health. And then with our mental health, we have a better spiritual life. So it's a cycle. Where do you want to start? I would suggest that you start with the spiritual, but if you're not so inclined, start with the physical. It will do the same thing, because the physical health issues will then stimulate some brain chemistry issues. It will change your mental attitude, your health, etc., and your spiritual life will improve, and that will improve your total health. You understand what I'm trying to say? These are the things that that become important as time goes on. So I will give you an ABC model. Okay, this is real simple. We say ABCs are really real easy. So first, what we have been doing this week and what I'm talking about now is to make you aware. So I want you to repeat with me wherever you are. Okay. A is for aware. Can you say that? A, aware. Good. I think some of you said it. I didn't hear anybody, but I think some of you said it. Well, since it's ABCs, what comes after A? Well, it's B. B is to believe. If you become aware of something, but you don't believe it, it's just as good as if you didn't know it. All right. Actually, it may even be worse. But if you're aware of something, then believe it. But don't believe me, and don't believe Dr. Coooper, and don't believe the people who presented this week. Go and check it out yourself. Check these things out for yourself, okay? And believe, okay? So aware, believe. Once you are aware and you believe something, now you have the power to choose. We always have the power to choose. We might think that we're in a straitjacket, but we always have the power to choose. And once we have chosen, then we go ahead and do. It's the action step. We choose, and then we do what we know to be right. We do in accordance with the truth that we have. And this is so for our physical health, it's so for our mental health, it's so for emotional health, it's so for our relational health, and it's also so for our religious or spiritual health, okay? But let me tell you, if you're doing something, I highly recommend that you evaluate what you're doing. Don't do things blindly, okay? God is not interested in our blind following. No, he wants us to evaluate what we're doing and see if we're getting the results that he promises that we will get. So A is for awareness, right? B is for, C is for, D is for, E is to evaluate, okay? So we evaluate it, and we evaluate, but then we have to follow through. This is where a lot of people fall down. This is where I fall down sometimes. I go through all of these things. I learn something new. I go through, and I go through the process, so to speak, that I just outlined here. But a few weeks later, I slack off a little bit, and the next thing you know, I'm back to normal. I'm back to what I was doing before. No. God wants us to be able to follow through. And here's the point. If we go through this, A, B, C, D, E, F, we get to G, and G is about God. Don't leave him out of the picture, because God is willing and able to help us in every step of this process, okay? So that we will become more aware. We will believe, we'll choose, we'll do, we'll evaluate, and we'll follow through by his grace and to his glory, okay? So our spiritual domains, we talked about that before. Upwards is God. That's the most important issue, right? The other is a horizontal plane. It's about others and self. And then, of course, how we deal with the animate things in creation and the inanimate things of creation. This is very important to us. The effect is going to be that we will become more caring, more loving, more whole, humane people. We will do as it says in Matthew 25. Somebody is thirsty, we'll give him something to drink. Somebody is hungry, we give him something to eat. Somebody is in jail, we go and visit them. Somebody is in the hospital or sick, we will want to do something for them. And in so doing, Jesus says, we'll be doing it unto him. Isn't this a beautiful picture? Isn't this what you want? Well, this is how we prepare for the next pandemic, because the next pandemic is going to be even worse than the one that we have this time. We're going to continue to see increases in wars and famines and pestilences. And when people are saying peace and safety, because finally they say things are going to get better, they will only get worse. But here's the good news at the end. Jesus is going to come, and we will be in a position where there is no more sorrow, no more pain, no more suffering, no more crying, no more dying. It will be back the way he intended it in the beginning. We will experience the full shalom, and we will be that way forever and ever and ever. But the only way to do that is through our spiritual connection and our giving our hearts to the only one who can take us alive off this planet. I pray that you will make some commitment today, even if not a full commitment, that you make one step in that direction. Every step towards God is better than no step at all. But I don't want you to just make one step. I want you to go all the way, because it is only by going all the way that you'll be able to fully experience this total health, this peace and harmony that's called shalom. If you make one step towards the airport, you will not catch the plane. You have to make all the steps to get there in time to take that plane. And I want you to be on that plane. I pray that you'll be on that plane of shalom. God bless you. I am through. I see Doctors Brown there.
Yes. Thank you so very much, Dr. Charles Marcel, for this very, very interesting talk. I have two questions for you tonight. Number one, you mentioned that our relationship with our relationship with animals as one of the factors in this pandemic and possibly in future pandemics. What is your suggestion for us as to how we should relate to the animals?
Okay, first of all, domestic pets and animals that are assisting people to get around, whether they are emotional help animals or dogs, seeing eye dogs, or canines for police protection, etc. All of these do not fall into the category of this weird stuff, okay? And the reason is because these are domesticated. There are laws and public health measures that protect them and protect us with them, okay? So they get their shots and whatnot to keep things at bay. It doesn't mean that we're completely free of getting a disease from them any more than they're free from getting a disease from us. But the issue is all of these exotic wild animals and so on. So having an exotic pet, for instance, is really not safe. Some of them are controlled by law, but people still sneak and do these things. There are people who have alligators as pets, okay? There are people who have mountain lions as pets. One very famous movie star has this animal that is a wild animal that bit her on her neck. She had to go to the emergency room because she, it's like, what is wrong with it? So that's on the one hand, how we relate to the animals. The other is with our urban sprawl. What we've been doing is we've been taking away the habitats of the animals. And therefore, in trying to survive, they end up invading our habitat, okay? So we need to be careful. We need to make decisions that take all of the creation into account when we decide to do something, okay? It's not about the animal versus the human. It's about our being stewards and saying we want to do things in such a way that it doesn't hurt them, even though it may benefit us to expand in this area. And the third thing is, of course, the eating of the animals, okay? Part of the issue is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a picture of a bat up close, the face. It's a cute little thing, right? Until it shows the teeth. But it's a cute little thing, right? And people eat that, all right? We don't know exactly if this was the cause of the jump into humans, but because we know that bats do this. And if you were to look at the scientific reports, we go into caves and whatnot that only bats inhabit. We go in there and the bat droppings, the guano, right, is on the ground. People inhale this, it drops on their head, they come out and they can spread bat-related, because we're invading their territory and we're eating them. Okay, the swine is a reservoir for many microorganisms, because part of their job is to eat filth, right? And in case people think, well, I'll eat my chicken instead. Well, just look at what the chicken eats. It eats everything, okay? It eats the poop that's in the yard. I mean, watch what chickens eat. And now the way that we're raising the chicken as food, it's inhumane, the conditions that we have the chickens. And I need to say, I am not an animal rights advocate or any such thing. It's just, when you look at this, you can't help but think, why have we let things come to this point where we are endangering so many species because of our convenience? I mean, we've killed off lions and killed off elephants, and the numbers are so reduced now that they have to protect them and put them in artificial places so that they can breed to get. But then once you do that, they're changed forever. They're changed. So we're in a downward spiral, unfortunately. But those are some of the things that we can do. We have to look at our policies, and we have to look at what we're doing personally.
Thank you so much. Very well done. The next question, and the last for you, is this. News headline 2 days ago read, "Don't be surprised when vaccinated people get infected with COVID-19." Now, you said people were becoming more relaxed because of the vaccine, but with this news headline and all the bad news that you have told us, how can we maintain shalom, that state of peace in the current climate?
Okay. First of all, when we're doing with intentionality, the best that we can do, this is all that we can do. I hope I'm making sense. Yeah. When you do the best that you can do, you're doing all that you can do. We cannot muster up in ourselves some new antiviral stuff. We can't do that in ourselves, right? We can only do what we know to do. So if we say that the way we deal with any kind of infection, once the infection arrives to us, our immune system is what deals with it, okay? Before it gets to us, we have an opportunity to not come in contact with it, all right? So we do things to not come in contact. We do things that if we come in contact, we can do things to decrease the likelihood that it will infect us. And then once it infects us, if we have a optimally functioning immune system, we now have to rely on our immune system to do this. The vaccines, there is no vaccine, no vaccine that exists, whether it's for SARS-CoV-2 or whatever, there is no vaccine that is 100% effective, none, all right? So it is always possible that someone who is vaccinated can still get the infection. In the case of SARS-CoV-2, we have the virus that is mutating. Actually, it's not really mutating. It's undergoing some replacements, some amino acid replacements in the spike protein itself. All right. So when that happens, then it changes the configuration. So instead of being shaped like this, it may be shaped with a little dent. Okay, and that will alter the way the antibody, which is shaped like this, will be able to attach and work. So we have to expect that if the virus is actually undergoing some alteration and replacements, that this will affect the way the immune system will be able to respond. So if it's not 100% in the first place, and then we have some changes in the vaccine configuration, then we should expect that some people will become infected. But to date, what the evidence is that even though someone were to become infected, if they have been vaccinated, is that they are less likely to have a severe disease or have to go to be hospitalized or have to go to the intensive care unit or die, okay? So we can say if you're vaccinated, there is some protection that you have, but be aware that the vaccines are not the end all. It's doing the other things that promote good immune function that allows even the vaccine to work, okay? So you do this without neglecting the other. The underlying conditions, the diabetes, the hypertension, all of these metabolic conditions, you need to take care of those things and do them well, because that will put you in better stead should you come in contact, whether vaccinated or not, with the offending virus.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charles Marcel. Just as you said, you had not asked permission about that revelation and the Daniel seminar. It seems to me that having you come back with us another night for a different program, I know this is the end of this week's program, but maybe to discuss some of these issues with COVID-19, because I know a lot of people still have unanswered questions about the disease itself and the vaccine. So I'll work with our Health and Temperance Director, Dr. Donna Coooper, and let's see what we can come up with in a future session.
Be happy to.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you once again for answering those questions, Dr. Charles Marcel. Good evening, everyone, again, and welcome to another night of questions with the doctors. Tonight, we have a variety of questions, some that have been sent to us by our listening audience, covering a wide variety of topics. So let's get into it.
Dr. Lindor, the first question comes from a listener who says, "Hi, I am on medication for high blood pressure for a couple of months now. Is it even possible to get off the pill?"
Yes, it is possible, but there are several things that need to happen before you can come off of the pill. Several lifestyle changes. Diet. So we've talked about hypertension in the past during some question and answer sessions. So making sure that you're decreasing your salt intake. There are a lot of things that have salt, canned goods, processed foods, cheeses, lots of different things that we need to make sure that we cut out so that we can lessen our salt content. Making sure that we have regular physical activity. So 30 minutes a day, 115 minutes per week is able to decrease the top number of your blood pressure by about 10 points. So making sure that you have regular physical activity. We also have weight loss. So obesity also can contribute to hypertension or high blood pressure. Making sure that we're obviously exercising to not only have good heart health, but also to make sure that we're within a good weight range. Weight loss of about 20 pounds drops the top number of your blood pressure by about between 5 to 20 points. That's a wide range, but the more weight that you lose, the lower that your blood pressure will be. So regular physical activity, weight loss, and diet, those things, if you remain consistent with doing those things, then there is a large chance that you may be able to come off of your blood pressure medication. But as you do these things, make sure that you're keeping in good contact with your physician. Don't come off of them abruptly, because that can cause detrimental effects, and making sure that you remain constant in those things.
How about some substances that people use?
Yes, tobacco. We talked about smoking. That can also raise your blood pressure. So cutting out tobacco, alcohol, those illicit substances, and caffeine as well also has the tendency to increase your blood pressure. So cutting out those things as well, in addition to those other lifestyle modifications, will help to hopefully get you off of those blood pressure medications if you remain, again, consistent.
I think consistency is the word here.
Yes, consistency is the key. All right. Question number 2. I have a brother who is really overweight and has poor circulation. Both legs are swollen and have a discoloration, red and dark. He is pre-diabetic.
So this person has poor circulation. Well, circulation has two parts to it. There is a portion that deals with the arteries, and then there's the other portion with the veins. Arteries generally take blood into the leg, and the veins take the blood out. This person seems to have, probably, to me, I don't know his condition, but if the legs are swollen, more than likely it's a problem with the blood flowing back out of the legs. If there is a narrowing of the arteries going into the legs, most times that doesn't cause swelling, but if there is swelling, it would probably be a problem with the veins. He is overweight. It's possible that he has varicose veins. Sometimes we do not see these varicose veins on the surface. They may actually be deep beneath the muscles and we don't see them, but there are various tests that can be done. Generally, what's done is a Doppler study to see how the blood flows in the veins, flowing back from the leg towards the heart. These veins, they have little valves which compartmentalize the blood. So as the blood goes up, it cannot fall back down and cause heavy pressure in the entire length of the vein. So a little push goes up, a little, another little push, and so it keeps going from one little compartment to the next until the blood completely leaves the leg. I would suggest for this person that it's a brother that he does some exercise, walking, because the muscles are good pumps. Your calf muscles can help to waft that air, that blood back towards the heart, elevating the legs several times a day, at least 3 times a day for 30 minutes to help reduce that swelling. And the use of elastic stockings is definitely going to help. If you can't afford elastic hoses, then you can buy something like an ace wrap and wrap the leg in the morning before getting out of bed. Go from the foot all the way up to the thigh. That will help to prevent that swelling. You also mentioned that your brother is pre-diabetic. And it's very important that that brother knows that he does not have to become diabetic. He can lose weight now. He can start following all the health protocols that we mentioned in earlier nights in an effort to prevent actually pulling that trigger and going from being pre-diabetic to diabetic. So he should place himself in the hands of a competent physician who can help to diagnose and treat his problem.
Right, very well. Lots of things that can be done for that gentleman.
Question number 3, this one came in this afternoon from someone who says, I am on drugs. I need help. As much as I try, I can't get rid of it. And I would like to say, yes, he's right, or she's right, they are right. It's very easy to begin the drug habit, but the way out is not as easy. Can you tell us a little bit about addiction?
Yes.
And then we'll try to answer this question as best we can.
Yes, let's talk about addiction. So addiction has several components. First, there's an overwhelming compulsion to continually use this agent, whether it be drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be, and obtain this component by whatever means necessary. Whether it's dangerous or not, whether they have to steal, it doesn't matter. They will do whatever they have to do to get this agent. They become tolerant. So the body becomes used to a certain level of whatever it may be, and they need more and more and more to be able to get the same high or the same level of satisfaction that they had before. Their body becomes dependent on this medication or on this substance. And if they stop taking it abruptly or decrease the amount, then they will have certain symptoms, withdrawal symptoms, sweating, palpitations, nausea, vomiting, various things, agitation, anxiety, that may happen if they try to abruptly come off of these substances. There's a very high tendency to relapse, even if an individual has broken away for a period of time, that they may still have the urge. And if they go back, then there's a higher chance, obviously, that they will fall back into that addiction or utilizing that substance that has a negative impact on them. And Utilizing these substances has, as I just mentioned, a detrimental impact on the person and also society, the individuals who are around them, negative consequences.
You mentioned the withdrawal symptoms. Can you tell us a little bit more? I know some of them may be mild and some may be severe.
Yes. So we talked about some mild symptoms, the nausea, the vomiting, the palpitations. Some severe symptoms would include hallucinations, seizures even, delirium, which is where the individual becomes confused, depression, feelings of sadness. These are all symptoms, severe symptoms that may occur as a result of withdrawal. And withdrawal may begin as early as 8 hours after stopping the drug and last up to 10 days. So it can start pretty quickly after stopping the drug or the substance and last for a significant period of time. So it's really getting over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Brown, can you talk to us about ways in which this individual acts, seems to realize that he has an issue and wants to come out of this lifestyle? What are some tips that we may have that can help him or her?
I know that it's very, very important that this person has realized that he has a problem. That's the very first thing, to realize that you have a problem. There are people who may be addicted to various substances and they do not want to admit that they have a problem. So I applaud you if you're listening. I applaud you for coming to the fore and saying that you have a problem. You're going to need to seek some professional help. We do not know what substance you are hooked on, but you're hooked on something and you need professional help. You may need to be in a rehabilitation or treatment center. You need to be somewhere under the care of a physician who can treat you in order to reduce some of these withdrawal symptoms, which can become very severe, as we heard. At the treatment center, you may also receive healthy foods, maybe some medications also to help to boost your brain function. That's very important. This will go on for a few weeks.
And to help with withdrawal side effects.
To help with the side effects, yes, of withdrawal, which may be severe. Suppose you just stop and you have seizures there, and especially if you live alone, there'll be no one there to help you. So it's always good for you to seek advice of your physician, and getting yourself into a treatment center may be one of the best things that you can do for yourself. Of course, you can only be in those centers for a short period of time. You're going to be sent maybe to a halfway house and then back to your community. When you get back into your community, it's very important that you change your environment. When I say change your environment, you might not be able to change your apartment. You might not be able to buy a new home. Well, people around you, the friends that surround you, you're going to have to change those who may have led you into this lifestyle and those who are enjoying this lifestyle with you. You have to choose new friends, or else they will lead you back the same way from which you came. You have to avoid the places where you can obtain the drug. Suppose it's alcohol. You're not going to walk past the bar or drive past the bar. You're going to change your route. Then lastly, we have to rely on a higher power. That power is God. So you should get yourself in with a community of believers. I know it's very difficult now because many churches are closed, but there are still various online services. Our church, for example, at Mission Hope, is open on Sabbath. So we invite you, if you live in the area and you would like to come in and talk with us, then we can take things from there. You need to be with people who will help you to have a new perspective on life. You need an accountability partner that you can call whenever you get the urge. You need someone to support you. Satan has bound you, my friend. Lisa, I'd like you to find for me Matthew chapter 12, and we're going to read verses 43 to 45, because when Satan has bound you, you need to be loosened. And believe you me, Satan is stronger than us, but when we are on our knees, he cannot touch us, because then we have the power of Christ. Matthew 12, 43 to 45.
And it reads, When an unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places, seeking rest, and finds none. Then he says, I will return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds it empty, swept, and put in order. Then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits, more wicked than himself, and they enter and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation.
So if you go into, say, drug rehab, you come out, you say you're clean, and then you go back into it. This is what it's saying. Your last state may be worse than the first. I think I heard that Dr. St. Victor joined this the meeting. Are you here, Dr. St. Victor? Will our host let Dr. St. Victor in if she's on, so that she could give some last words on this question?
She's signed on, but I'm not sure she's hearing you, so you might need to proceed.
Okay, we'll just proceed. My last word for this person is found in Psalm 37, verse 5. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will bring it to pass. You cannot do it without the Lord.
Thank you so much.
Our last question for the night goes to Dr. Lindor. How much exercise is recommended weekly, and what form of exercise?
Yes. So in the beginning, we talked a little bit about how much exercise is beneficial to decrease blood pressure. 30 minutes of exercise, 5 days a week, or 150 minutes per week is a good amount of time to exercise. That should include anaerobic exercise aerobic exercise and some anaerobic as well if possible. So let's discuss a little bit about the difference between anaerobic and aerobic. So anaerobic is essentially activity that breaks down our sugar using oxygen. And this type of activity includes exercises such as running, swimming, walking, cycling, skipping. All of these activities increase or improve our cardiovascular health. They help to lower our blood pressure, regulate your blood sugars, reduce chronic pain, help you to sleep better at night, improve your immune system, improve your brain power, and also reduce your risk of falls. And then anaerobic exercise is activity that breaks down glucose for energy without using oxygen. These include activities that utilize short bursts of energy, such as sprinting. And then it also includes weightlifting as well, which is good to improve your bone strength. So aerobic activities and anaerobic activities together are best to improve your heart health and then also increase your bone strength, because we don't want to have brittle bones that can make us weaker as we get older. Dr. Brown, do you have any final words for us?
Well, we have finally come to the end, and I'm not going to say much tonight. We have shared many health principles over the past six nights, and tonight, the 7th night of this our lovely program. I enjoyed it entirely. Building healthy families in 2021 and beyond. We would like to thank our listening audience for having been with us throughout this session. And I'd like to close with a quote from one of my favorite authors in her book, The Ministry of Healing. And it reads, "Everywhere there are hearts crying out for something which they have not. They long for a power that will give them mastery over sin, a power that will deliver them from the bondage of evil, a power that will give life and peace. And I will add, this power comes only from God, the divine healer, the healer of the spiritual, the mental, the physical, and the emotional." I hope that you have all been blessed this week. This has been Health Turbine, powering the drive to impact wholesome lifestyle choices.
We have had such a wonderful week, Sister Lillian.
I know I have been truly blessed.
You know, I have been practicing a couple of the exercises during the week, and I'm a little sore, but by God's grace, we'll get stronger and stronger each day.
And those easy, simple, healthy recipes, I've been taking advantage and doing them at home. They've been so delicious.
And I know many of you might say natural remedies are for grandmothers, but no, they're not. They're actually have been feeling much better following those remedies day by day.
And our speakers, they've been wonderful. They've taught us so much.
We thank you once again for everything that you have, for all the time you have invested, and for everything that you have been putting and commenting and your questions.
We hope you have been blessed as we have.
So at this time, we're going to do one final prayer before we dismiss. Let us bow our heads for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this week that you have given us to learn about health, to learn about the relationship that you want to have with us, and to learn how is it that you want to give us life and life more abundantly. So please, Lord, bless us at this time as we will be now going into life. But Lord, let us not depart from you, nor the teachings that we have been seeing during this week. Allow us to implement them in our lives, and that, Lord, that we will have healthy bodies, not only for today, nor even this year, but for the rest of our lives until you come. We ask everything in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.